The time is now 5 p.m. We will call to order the Monday, November 21st, 2022 Finance and Purchasing Committee. Roll call, please.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Present.
We have a quorum. I take a motion to approve the minutes from October 17th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Moiseo,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Rivera. Are there any questions to the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D, public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on anything on the agenda for tonight for the Finance and Purchasing Committee? Seeing none, we will move to new business. Item A, tax levy for 2022 tax year, public hearing and discussion. I will turn it over to our Finance Director, Don Schultz.
Thank you. Good evening. The purpose of the hearing is not to approve the tax levy. That won't come up for consideration until December 19th. At least a minimum of 20 days prior to adoption, you have a public hearing where you determine what the levy amount will be. You invite the public to make any comments or ask any questions they may have on the levy. And so this evening, what I'd like to do is go through the levy with you, the purpose of the levy, and for what purposes we're raising taxes.
Could you hold on just 1 second, Mr. Schultz? Alderman Hayes is coming in so we can see him. I'll take a motion to see.
I will motion.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Florian, second by Alderman Rivera.
I'm the opposite.
Thank you.
502.
We got
All
you.
those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, Mr. Schultz.
The total amount levied for general purposes and extended by the county to pay debt service on our outstanding general obligation bonds will measure $37,538,001, the same as the prior year. So there's no dollar change, and there's no percent increase in the levy that you're going to look at this evening. There are two parts of the levy. There's the aggregate amount. That's primarily the operating purposes for the levy: police pension, fire pension, Public Safety Employee Benefit Act, the health insurance benefits for police officers and firefighters that have been disabled in line of duty, and the employer is responsible for their health insurance benefits. IMRF, the pension fund for non-public safety employees, refuse collection, the library, and capital projects. That makes up the aggregate. The aggregate levy will increase from $29 million to $33 million, $3.9 million increase, or 13.4%. We're able to meet that increase in the aggregate levy because of reduction in debt service. Two of the bond issues that we had debt service on in the prior year have been fully retired in the current fiscal year. That frees up the exact amount of $3,937,253. For 48% reduction in debt service, it offsets the increase on the aggregate, so the total extended on the tax bill citywide will have no change in fiscal year 24 compared to fiscal year 23. The parts of the levy that show the increases, the public safety pension funds, police pension and fire pension will increase 10%. That's based on the actuarial valuation performed by the independent actuaries. Part of the difficulty in the pension funds last year was a net loss of $7 million in the value of plan assets at April 30th. Although calendar year 21 was a strong year for investments, by the time April rolled around, we had a big reversal in March and April, if you remember, of 22 compared to the prior calendar year. And reduction in the plan assets, who makes up that difference? The employer does. Police pension will increase $938,000 or 10%. Fire pension, $744,000 or 10%. The Public Safety Employee Benefit Act, the health insurance benefits for disabled police officers and firefighters will increase 9% based on the cost of our health insurance increase of 9.4%. That's coming up in calendar year 23. IMRF, we're adding on to IMRF this year a partial funding of Medicare costs. As you know, all employees are eligible for Medicare. Police officers and firefighters are not eligible for Social Security, but they are Medicare. We need to recoup some of that cost, so we're adding it to the IMRF, so it's an IMRF Medicare, and that'll go up $687,000 to $2.1 million. Refuse collection, we have a contract with our waste disposal company. That contract per number of units times the rate is determined that we need $5.4 million, an increase of $119,000. The library gets 95% of its support from the tax levy. It raises very little money in fees and charges for services and receives a small literacy grant based on population. It's a per capita grant of approximately $89,000. But the bulk of its funding is from the tax levy. And we want to increase the amount available for capital projects for streets and highways. We're able to do that with the reduction in debt service costs. We can raise the capital projects from $1 million to $2.3 million for another $1.3 million for streets. That's the aggregate levy. The other part that's extended on the tax bill is for the payment of principal and interest on our general obligation bonds. Investors love general obligation bonds because you pledge the full faith and credit of the municipality. We're telling investors that we will place on the tax bill amount necessary to pay the principal and interest on your debt. You don't have to worry about your debt not being paid. We have 10 outstanding general obligation bonds. In the current year, we're only levying taxes on 4 of them. 6 will be abated in their entirety by home rule sales tax and by payments from the TIF district. Debt service will go down from $7.9 million to $3.9. The PTAB/CE, that's new. And we have no control over that. We didn't put that on the tax bill. It was put on the tax bill through an act through Governor Pritzker in August of 21, proposed and the state legislature approved, taxing bodies being able to recover part of what's lost in tax appeals, Property Tax Appeal Board. That's the PTAB. They go from November to November of the prior 12-month period, compute how much you're losing in appeals on tax bills, and we're recovering a portion of that. And we recovered $267,814 in tax year 21. We don't know what it is yet for 2022, so I assume the same amount. It may be less, maybe more. It won't be much different. We won't know that for a few days yet. And then you have the debt service. The total then is $37,538,000, but no increase over the prior year. In terms of debt service, well, there's 11 general obligation bonds in 21. 3 of them are abated in full by home rule sales tax. 2 are abated in full by monies from TIF 10, McGaw Park. And in last tax year, we levied taxes necessary to pay the debt service on 6 of those issues. In 2022 tax bill, payable in fiscal year 24, that go on next year's tax bill, 2 of those bonds have been paid off entirely. 3 will still be abated by home rule sales tax, 2 still by TIF 10. So we will levy only taxes necessary to pay principal and interest on 4 of the remaining 10 GO issues. If you look at taxes extended for debt service since or from 2020 all the way through the end of the last maturity in 2032, you'll see that the amount necessary to be raised from property taxes will show a reduction. In 2020 was $9.3 million. down to 7.9 million, down to 3.9 million in the current year. It'll go down another 700,000 next year. So another 700,000 will be freed up from debt service next year that we can use for operating costs as part of the aggregate levy. Then it'll flatten out at about $4 million for the next 3 years or 4 years, and then be reduced even further. You can see on the chart the significant reduction from what year is that, 2019 or 2018, down to where it's leveled off for 4 years. Then you'll see another reduction all the way through retirement. So that's how it looks for the retirement of debt. What you really like to do is what our goal is not to use property taxes to pay debt service. You'd like to find alternate sources of revenue to pay off debt service. You can't continue to do improvements and put those improvements on the tax bill. So the idea is try to find other sources. We're going to have a casino. It's going to have money from the casino. You'd like to use that money to pay off debt service or to pay off improvements for streets, public facilities. If you look at the amount extended by the city over the last several years, actually 7 out of the last 10 years saw no real increase to the city at all from property taxes. 0.33, 0.32, 0.34. That's a zero increase for operations from the tax levy. In 20, 0.01. Last year, we actually had a reduction in our tax levy. The only increase was because of the amount that was extended by the county to reimburse us to recapture what we lost from tax appeals. That raised it to 0.48, but essentially a 0% increase. So you look at those increases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros out of 10 years. If you look at year 2018, there was an increase of $2.1 million in the tax levy. 100% of that increase was for debt service, not for the aggregate levy. The aggregate levy itself went up 0%. So 7 out of 10 years was a 0% increase on the tax bill. Now, most homeowners, when they look at their tax bills, they don't realize that. They don't realize how little of the tax bill is the responsibility of the city. Look at the next chart. I'm sorry. What makes up, to understand your tax bill, what makes up your tax bill? You have to look at the number of taxing bodies on that tax bill. It's not just the city of Waukegan. Part of the city's portion is also for the Waukegan Library. You've got the township on there, whatever township you happen to be in, and road and bridge taxes associated with that township. The county of Lake and the Forest Reserve District for the county. The North Shore Water Reclamation District, the Park District, and a number of different school districts will be on the tax bill depending on your address. What school district are you served by? We have School District 3, 50, 56, 79, High School District 121 and 126, Unit School District 60 or Unit School District 187. Plus you have the community unit, you have the Community College of Lake County, District 532. If you look at the levies for all those taxing bodies that appear on the city's tax bill, Waukegan School District number 60 has a tax rate of this is on the current or the 2021 tax bill, a current rate of 5.41. 52% of the tax bill goes to Waukegan School District 60. Another 3% will go to the College of Lake County. So 55% of your tax bill is for education. The Parks District has a tax rate of 0.84. 8% of the tax bill will go just in support of the Waukegan Park District. The County of Lake, 5.7% for the county, another 1.7% for the Forest Reserve. North Shore Sanitary District, 1.5%. of the total levy. Township Road and Bridge, 0.24%. The township itself, 2.89. So between those two is another 3%. So the city of Waukegan only receives 25% of the tax bill. Increases that people are seeing on their tax bill has not been the result of anything the city council has done. As we said, 7 out of the last 10 years, the city has 0% increase in the levy. The increase has been the result of increases to the levy by the other taxing bodies. Graphically, if you take that dollar bill and divide it up, 55 cents of the dollar goes for education, 25 cents of the dollar will go to the city. The city in support of refuse collection, the library, police pension, fire pension, the PSEVA benefits, street projects. You have the Park District at 8%, and then you have all the other taxing bodies. We get a lot of questions from people. They don't understand their tax bill. They get the bill in the mail. They see the dollar amount. Don't always understand how it's computed. How do you arrive at the tax bill? Well, there's two primary factors in the tax bill. One is the amount of revenue that all the taxing bodies combined are trying to raise from property taxes. Is the amount of money that's being funded through the property tax by all the taxing bodies. And it's the value of property established through the assessment process. All properties are assessed at a certain level. In the state of Illinois, you were assessed at 1/3 of fair market value. In every county in Illinois, except for Cook County, it's at 10%, and they have other formulas. But every county in Illinois other than Cook County is assessed at 1/3 of market value. So you take the fair market value that's determined by the assessor, a number of ways in which they assess that property, and 1/3 of that is your assessed value. The township assessor and the chief county assessor's office determines the fair market value of property within the taxing district. They arrive at a number of different formulas they use. It could be the cost approach. What does it cost to build a home today? There's the market or sales approach that you're all mostly familiar with, and that is what have homes, similar types of homes in the neighborhood, what have they sold for in the recent past? And they use the prior 3 years of the levy. 3 years prior to the assessment, what have homes sold for in the neighborhood similar to your home? And they make adjustment based on amenity differences of the homes. It's not an easy process. It's a difficult process that our assessors go through. But once the assessors are done, there's an equalization factor that's going to be applied. The state wants to ensure that homes are being uniformly assessed across the state. So first the assessor will look at there's a number of different townships within the county. They want the townships to all be equalized to make sure that all the townships are assessing the property the same way and coming up with the same results. Then the state will look at all the counties within the state. Are they all being assessed the same way so that there's a fair and equitable distribution of taxes statewide? And there may be an equalization factor applied. The Waukegan Township assessor, the township equalization factor for Waukegan in 2022 is 1.008. Pretty darn close to 1. You can't get much better than that. In fact, I think it's one of the lowest equalization factors that I've seen. So it's essentially the assessed valuation times 1. There is no equalization for Waukegan. So you take the fair market value. That's the most probable sale price of a property in terms of money in a competitive and open market, assuming that the buyer and the seller are acting prudently and knowledgeably, allowing sufficient time for the sale, and assuming that the transaction is not affected by undue pressures. It's what two reasonable people would agree to in a sales negotiation. That's the fair market. divide that by 3 or multiply it times 0.33, and get the assessed value. The taxable value is that assessed value adjusted for any equalization factor. If the equalization factor is 1, then the assessed value and your taxable value would be the same. Except prior to reaching the taxable value, you would subtract your exemptions. What exemptions do you have? You have a homeowner's exemption, $6,000. So say you have a property that has a fair market value of $150,000. 1/3 of that is $50,000. That's your assessed value. Equalization factor of 1, assessed value, equalized assessed value is still $50,000. Subtract from that $6,000. Your taxable value on the property is $44,000. You apply the rate, you come up with your tax bill. Here's the example. I know you can't see it on that side at all, but from here you'll see it. There's certain taxing bodies. This is just the city's bill, a sample bill. We took our levy that's being presented this evening for the hearing. Bond and interest cost, $3.9 million. Corporate, that's the PSEBA benefit, $410,000. The fireman's pension, the police pension, garbage disposal, IMRF, library, the PTAB, the property tax appeal board, the recapture amount, and streets and highways for $37 million. Divide that $37,538,000 by your equalized assessed valuation. What we're assuming is that our valuation in Cicero is going to grow 8% this year. You may think that sounds high, but we checked with the Waukegan assessor, and he is projecting 8 to 10% increase in our assessed value. So I said, okay, let's use that figure. Let's increase property values by 8%. What does that do? So it increases the tax base from $1.4 million to $1,554,000. You come up with a tax rate of 2.41. Currently, it's 2.60. So you're going to see a significant reduction in the tax rate because of the increase in the tax base. On the right-hand side, we have a fair market value. I took that $150,000 home. We just said the tax base is going to grow up 8%, so let's increase that home value by 8%. So now that home is valued at $162,000. Part of that is land, part of that is building. Take 1/3 of that. Say the land is $30,000, 1/3 of that is $10,000. The building is $132,000, 1/3 of that is $44,000. So your assessed value is $54,000. The multiplier is 1, your equalized value is $54,000. Subtract your homestead exemption of $6,000. If you're a senior citizen, homeowner, you get to subtract another $5,000. But assuming you're not a senior citizen homeowner and just a non-senior citizen, we're going to subtract $6,000. You're going to have a tax bill value of $48,000. Your tax bill at $48,000 times the rate of 2.4154, you're going to have a tax bill of $1,159. Now, looking at that assessed valuation, are we out of line? I don't think so. Even with an 8% increase in the tax base, bringing it to $1.5 million, we still are far behind where we were in 2008, when it was $1.6 billion. That's because they had 6 straight years of declining tax base. Look at the large decreases in our tax base from 2008 all the way to 2014. 2015 was essentially a flat year. Then every year since then, 16, 17, 18, has grown 7%, 9%, 8%, 8%, 4%, 6%. And they're projecting now 8%. So I don't think we're out of line assuming 8% growth. You see that in terms of the chart. You've got the decrease year after year after year. It flattened out for a couple of years. Then you have the increase the last 6 years. Now this I know you can see if you look at on your paper copies. It's hard to see on here. What we did here, we took that $150,000 home in 2021. That's the red print. Say, okay, what happens if We leave the levy as it is, the total levy at $37,538,000. Don't change it. What if your assessed value goes down by 1% a year? What effect will that have on your tax bill? And then what if it goes up 1% a year? And we did it all the way for 8% increase. But if you take a home, let's say it increases 5%. The value of the home increases 5%. You look across this line at 5%, the new tax will be $1,155 compared to $1,148. There will be an increase of $7.45 to that homeowner. No increase to the levy, but his home value is more. And with the rate being lower, you have to pay more for us to receive the same amount of money. We're not receiving any more money. We're receiving the same $37.5 million that we received last year. But because of the lower rate, it increases the tax bill by $7.45. If that home increases 8% in value, the increase is $11.59. That's it. That comes to the city. With an 8% increase in the tax base, you're talking about a homeowner of a $150,000 home whose home is now at $162,000, increasing its taxes by $11.59.
A year, Don? That's a year.
That's for the year. $1 a month. This chart shows a 5% increase in the home's value. Oh no, I'm sorry. This one shows the 21 tax bill with a $150,000 home. You start with 150. 1/3 is 50 of that is 50,000. Multiplier is 1. Assessed value is 50,000. Subtract your 6. You got 44,000. Times at 2.6086 tax rate. They're paying $11.48 in the current tax year. In 22, if there's no change to the tax levy, but the tax base increases by 5%, that tax bill will go up by $7.45. You're doing the same calculations. If the tax base increases 8%, that homeowner will pay $11.59. The city tax as a percent of the fair market value is less than 1% of the fair market value of that home. It's only 0.7% of that home's fair market value.
Is that why everybody's tax bill is different year to year, depending on how much your excess valuation has gone up or down?
Absolutely. Yeah.
People always ask, why did my neighbors go down, or why did my friends go down, and why did mine go up? Well, the city kept the same tax rate, but the assessed valuation was different, a simple math problem, and that's why.
And all the times I've talked to the assessor and talked to the county, they've been very helpful. If people have a question regarding their tax bill, their assessment, my neighbor has a similar home and his bill is less than mine. Appeal it. Call the county. Appeal your taxes if you feel they're online. What you need to do is check your tax bill, make sure that you're being taxed by the proper taxing bodies, and look at your assessment. How is your home assessed? What's the fair market value? You may not agree with the fair market value that they're showing. We all want to show a much higher fair market value when we're ready to sell our house. But when we're not selling, we're paying taxes, you want this fair market value to be lower. You know, it's now if it increases, I've been asked. It was my recommendation when we talked about the levy that you get away from 0% increases 7 out of 10 years, and that you incrementally increase that tax so no one is hit hard at any one time. If you continue to go 0% year after year after year, you're going to finally hit property owners with double-digit increases in the levy. Because where's the money going to come from? Once you start leveling off on income tax and sales tax, replacement tax, your regular taxes pay 70% of our operating costs. You can only tax so much. Those taxes only bring in so much unless you have new retailers. We've been fortunate so far in the last couple of years. Revenues have been extremely strong. and they're strong this year. Will that continue? Many people are talking about we've got 8% inflation now. We're on the throes of recession. We'll see property values going down as interest rates go up. We have every one of our unions are primed for negotiations. There will be increases across the board for all of our increase. We have a $42 million payroll. You can expect our payroll to go up $1.8 million next year. The only way you're going to save money on with 80% of your budget devoted to personnel, are you going to lay off employees? I don't think anyone wants to do that. So we looked at what will a 2.5% increase in levy actually do? So I took 2.5%, increased the levy from 2.5%. And increased the tax base by 5%. That home, if you increase it 2.5% and the home value goes up 5%, the person that had a $150,000 home last year is now $157,000. His tax bill will go up $36 for the year. That 2.5% increase to the city will bring in $938,000. Not only this year, but every year thereafter. Because it doesn't go away. That stays at the base next year. It stays at the base next year's tax, and the year after, and the year after. So over a 5-year period, that 2%, that 2.5% increase, this 1 year will gather $4.7 million over a 5-year period. If the home is $175,000 in 21, it'll now be $183 at a 5% increase. That homeowner, his taxes will go up $42. Go to a $300,000 home. It is now assessed at a fair market value of $315. That homeowner, his tax bill will go up $68 or $69, providing a 2.5% increase to the city. If the tax base increases 8%, as the Waukegan assessor uses, a $150,000 home, his tax bill will go up $40.58. Roughly what? What is that, $3.50 a month? The $175,000 homeowner whose property is now worth $189,000, his bill goes up $46. $200,000 home now assessed at $216,000. His tax bill goes up $51.45. The $300,000 home, now with a fair market value of $324,000, will see a tax bill of $73 a year. That's $6 a month on a 2.5% increase to the levy, and an 8% increase on the value of his property. What does that actually mean in dollars? We have a 2021 extension of $37,538,000. If you increase it 2.5%, you'd raise an additional $938,450. You'll have it the first year. You'll have it the second year, the third year. It doesn't go away. I'm just looking at a 5-year plan because I'm working on a 5-year capital budget now and a 5-year operating budget. Over a 5-year period, it provides an additional $4.7 million to the city. Additional $4.7 million to the city. The $150,000 home will now have a value of $162,000. This will cost that homeowner $40. A $300,000 home now has a market value of $324,000 will cost that homeowner $73. I just wanted to lay that out so you see what the effect of increasing of a tax base and increasing of a tax rate.
Don, if home prices level off or go down, now you're playing catch up?
We probably are. You are playing catch up. When you go 0%, 7 out of 10 years, it's going to catch up. Any questions from?
Or find another revenue stream,
Find another revenue stream.
which is what the state of Illinois has been trying to do for.
Alderman Florian?
So on page 22, you talk about if there was no change to the levy. Well, actually, let's look at 23. There's no change to the levy. Assessed valuation increases by 8%, which is what you're predicting is about what might happen. The property bill, tax bill increases is $11.59 for a $162,000 home. Where does that money go? If we're not getting any more, where does it go?
The amount that's paid is a function of the assessment and of the rate. The rate's going down. If the rate goes down, then the amount being paid has to go up just for us to continue to receive the same amount. We're not getting any more. They're paying on a lower rate.
Right, but if the homeowner's paying more on their tax bill just because their home is worth more, where does that money go if we don't get it?
We do get it, but it's in the total levy.
Then why doesn't?
I know, if all the properties are paying $11 more, why aren't we getting more?
Exactly.
And some are paying less again because their home value didn't go up. There's a senior exemption.
So there's
a lot
6
of
grand
factors
off.
involved. But the total money we bring in is the same.
Yeah.
It becomes a huge math pot, I guess, for lack of a better analogy, and who pays what. And obviously, if your house goes up, then you're going to end up paying more. You're going to carry the freight, as with people's that goes down, you know. And if people fight their property tax and their assessment goes down, now we recoup a little bit of that $287,000, but
Yeah.
it could be if everybody did it, it would be a lot bigger than 287, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it passed, but the legislature had a proposal that they would limit that to 5% of your total levy. So whether that continues or not, what I've heard from the county so far, it hasn't been, they haven't gotten rid of it, so we shouldn't receive that recapture again in next year. But Alderman, I need to get a better answer to your question.
Okay. On page 4, the summary that you did of the tax levy by purpose, and you said the IMRF Medicare is almost doubling. Why was that? Right, but why?
In prior years, we really weren't including any Medicare portion.
Oh, so this is just a new.
Yes, we're
addition
trying to recoup,
the
we're
levy.
trying to capture at least some of the Medicare costs. It doesn't capture all of it, but it does capture part of it.
Okay, so we've just been paying that out of other funds in the
Right.
past, and you're putting this on.
And we thought we were able to do that because of the reduction in the debt service. By that being reduced by 3.9%, we're able to move some of that money to cover some part of the Medicare costs that we weren't able to do in prior years.
Okay, thank you.
Don, I have a question for you. On that same page 4, the capital projects, the increase of 131%, that was a voluntary increase of 1.3 million?
Pardon?
The increase of 1.3 million on the capital projects on page 4,
Yes.
why did it go up 131%?
The prior year was only $1 million.
We have the money there.
And it doesn't have to. You can put the money somewhere else. We're going to make a determination this evening on, you're going to determine how much the levy is going to be. Yeah, you can put the levy at what it is here, at the aggregate amount of $33,288,000. It's non-binding. You can increase it, you can decrease it prior to adoption of the levy. When we had that reduction in debt service to $3.9 million, we knew part of it had to fund the pensions, police pension, fire pension, PSEBA, the library increase, the refuse collection. We still had a portion of that available. We wanted to put it into streets. There's no real hidden formula why that's there. We can just as easily maybe put that in operations and put it in, fund more of the IMRF Medicare rather than streets. But the mayor wanted to put as much money as she could into streets and highways. So for this next year's program, we'll have $2.3 million from the tax levy, $2 million from home rule sales tax, plus I think there's $3 million left over from this year's program into next year for a decent-sized program next year. So there's no real reason for that except to try to fund as much of the streets as we can from the savings and the debt service.
The mayor's not here, but I think she has always communicated that she would like to try to pay for capital projects and streets instead of borrow.
Yeah.
Understood and agreed.
I agree.
Problem with that is you can't, you gotta do it, you have to get a plan and you have to stick to it $5 million a year because otherwise you get stuck. Just like anything else,
You're
now
absolutely
it's
right.
very much intimated. You don't do it for a while, next thing you know, you got $30 million in roads to do, well, you gotta go out for a bond. The only good thing about a bond lately, I don't know what they are now, but municipal rates have been, they're pretty low for a long time. Right?
They've been low for a long time.
So it's almost like free money, but that's the balancing act. You wanna pay for taxes every year, you wanna, get a low bond rate and go that's all the balancing act.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. We already pay some of the highest taxes in the state, and by extension, some of the highest property taxes in the entire nation. So it's like, how can you just keep taxing the heck out of homeowners? I get it. We have a city to operate, and we have capital expenditures, and we have pensions and things that we have to pay for, but it comes on the back of every single one of our constituents. And we're sitting here talking about examples of what it looks like at 1% and, $11 per year or $100 per year. But we're not discussing the overall issue, which is what homeowners are already paying in taxes. So it may sound like a very small incremental increase, but people aren't going to have a problem with an $11 increase. They have a problem with what they're already paying in taxes. And that's the number one complaint. We sit up here and we talk about all sorts of issues. The number one complaint I hear, and I'm sure you guys hear, is property taxes.
Alderman, that's probably pretty much through the state,
Yeah.
and hence revenue streams. Marijuana, gambling.
Yep, I get it. Yeah.
You have to find another revenue stream or you gotta cut services. There's no other way around it. Me and Alderman Newsom were we had to cut services and lay people off, and it's not what you wanna do. It's a lot of sleepless nights when you gotta tell somebody they don't have a job.
Furlough.
Yeah.
Then you gotta come up with another revenue stream. That's the problem.
And as property owners, we all know our tax bill never goes down.
No, that's the problem. Once it
Never
goes
goes
up, it's
down.
not coming back down. And
It never will go down.
it deters home ownership. If the idea is to get more people owning homes and out of a rental situation, if that's what they want, they're going to buy a house, they're going to pay property taxes, they're going to make improvements to that house, they're going to go out and buy a lawnmower, they're going to go out and buy services, they're going to hire people to work at the house. It's one of those situations where it actually generates more revenue, but the deterrent is that threshold of getting into home ownership. Because you buying the house is one thing, you got to maintain the house, but you got to pay the taxes. And if we just keep increasing taxes on people, they can't afford to buy a house or stay in a house.
And I guarantee it's been like this for 20 years up here. Everybody in Waukegan will come here and tell us about the problem with property tax. And it's a quarter on a dollar. You go up to 12 on Sharon Road up there, when they do it, there isn't a soul up there, well, maybe one or two people, complaining about it.
52
You go to any
cent.
school district in Northern Lake County, when it gets time for this, I guarantee you, there's hardly anybody there. As soon as a municipality, and you ask the average person, they think we get 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have tried, and Don just did a great job, we have tried and tried and tried to educate people on that, and they just won't get it. They think that we are, we get the 100% and then we dole it out. That's not how it works.
And we keep the levy flat, the taxes are still gonna go up and we'll get blamed for it.
We could keep it
And
flat,
we're still not
the tax
getting
bill would
anything.
still go up because the other municipalities, the other taxing bodies could go up. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, look at your tax bill. Look, it tells you right there, plus and minus, what taxing bodies have gone up or down. It's a fight. I get it. It's a fight.
Alderman Newsom. I think that concludes the hearing.
Okay,
Thank you, Don.
no more questions?
Thanks, Don.
Okay. We do this at this time because it's on the agenda later. Yeah, I think you should. Okay. So, I am supposed to request a motion to recommend determination of the proposed tax levy for tax year 2022 in the amount of, that we've gone over, $33,288,799. I mean, $33,288,799.
I'll make a motion, doesn't matter.
I'll second.
Motion by, let me get that. Motion by Moiseo, second by Alderman Florian. Do we have to vote on that? Okay. Roll call, please.
I'm glad you're here. Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Hayes,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye. Motion carried. And we will go into our regular business. Item, let's see, item B. A resolution authorizing the proper city officials to submit an application to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, IEPA, for the lead service line inventory grant program for a maximum amount of $50,000.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Moiseo. Second by Alderman Rivera. We gotta read this. The IEPA has established a requirement for the service line material inventory to be submitted by April 15th, 2023, and finalized by April 15th, 2024. The city has estimated that of the 21,069 services in town, 7,943 services are lead and 2,134 services are unknown. The funding of this project will assist the efforts of gathering accurate data for the quantity and type of water service lines in the city. This will include exploratory field efforts. Are there any more questions?
I just want to point out a couple things. Alderman Rivera and I, probably a little over a year ago, went to a big presentation about these lead line issues. And first of all, I'm surprised we have so few because I was expecting our numbers to be much larger than this. So that's actually great news. But we are definitely behind the 8 ball on this. And we should have started doing this years ago. We knew about this. It's just sad that, there was a lot of grants available and money out there, and we missed out on a lot of it because we drug our feet. So I'm excited there's at least some money here we can apply for, and hopefully there's going to be more coming up that we can get.
Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item C, a resolution authorizing the proper city officials to submit an application to Lake County Fiscal Year 23 Watershed Management Board, WMB, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, DCEO, STOCIP, Round 3, for the Montesano Avenue Flooding Mitigation Project in the 7th Ward. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Rivera. The design and construction grant will provide flooding mitigation on Montesano Avenue near Western Avenue that will further reduce public works flooding calls and property damage costs to the city's residents and increase the quality of life. This project will also help to mitigate damage to adjacent city utility infrastructure. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item D, a resolution authorizing the proper city officials to submit an application to Lake County Fiscal Year Watershed Management Board, WMB, and Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, DCEO and STOCIP, Round 3 for the Yeoman Creek Flooding Mitigation Project near Sunset Avenue and Lewis Avenue. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I'll motion.
Motion by Alderman Rivera.
Second.
Second by Alderman Florian. The design and construction grant will provide flooding mitigation at the Yeoman Creek near Sunset and Lewis Avenue that will further reduce public works flooding, calls, and property damage costs to the city residents and increase quality of life. This project will also help mitigate damage adjacent to city utilities. Are there any questions or comments? Roll
Gift
call.
that keeps giving. The
Yeah.
Omen Creek.
Yeah, I think this is over there, the apartments over there on Sunset.
Well, I'm sure Yeoman Creek's
Yeah,
handle has got nothing to do with the flooding over there.
yeah, always. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item E, a resolution authorizing the proper city officials to waive the competitive bidding process authorizing the purchase of firefighter turnout gear from Dinges Fire Company. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I'll motion.
Alderman Rivera,
Second.
second by Alderman Moiseo. The fire department is requesting approval for a change order with the Dinges Fire Company. Our original budget amount was $25,000 for line item 100-3020-25469. As the price of turnout gear has greatly increased this fiscal year, we are requesting additional funds to this line item in order to process the invoice number 31135 from Dinges Fire Company. We are asking for this line item to be raised to $100,000. We anticipate other charges under the line item throughout the remaining of the fiscal year. I was speaking with the fire chief earlier today. The turnout gear has like a 10-year shelf life, and they've been purchasing more equipment. I believe we've had 17 new hires. So there needs to be an increase in the purchase for this gear. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item F, resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving a contract with Maple Valley Construction for emergency repairs at Fire Station 2. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Hayes. The fire department desperately needed to repair the east-facing wall at Fire Station 2. While conducting a monthly station maintenance, the fire department found that over the years they have had water leaking under the siding, and the plywood sheeting is now rotted. With this repair will prevent any future reoccurrences. The work includes changing a design flaw that created the problem in the first place. Furthermore, the new siding is made by James Hardy, which is essentially cement board made to look like wood. This product has a 30-year warranty and is virtually waterproof. City staff solicited quotes from qualified contractors and determined that the quote submitted by Maple Valley Construction was the lowest responsible quote in the amount of $26,000. Are there any questions to this motion? Alderman Florian?
I'm just curious why it's only one wall when there's, I mean, I realize there's doors usually on two sets of the walls of the fire station.
It's the wind.
Have to go on the other side.
Depends how the wind goes and the rain goes, correct, chief?
Well, but doesn't it come out of every direction at one time or another?
So, good question. It's a design flaw in the building. So the east side of the building has, I guess, some aesthetically pleasing cutouts in it to make it look nice. The west side does not have that, nor does the north or south. So it's only on that side, which, like Alderman Moisey said, it depends on how the rain and the wind are coming. But they come up and in these void spaces, and that is what's caused the damage and the rotting. So the other sides don't have these cutouts. So they're going to take the cutouts completely out of it, wall over them, and put siding over the top of that, so it won't happen again.
When was that station built?
I believe it was 1998.
Okay,
Is
so
when it
I'm
opened.
guessing there's like no, at this point, no warranty or
Definitely not.
whatever.
Yeah.
I guess we're lucky it lasted as long as it did with the.
Well, and yes, it's been that way for a while. Like it says, you can actually push your finger right through it. So we're kind of under the gun here with getting it started with the weather.
You're going to be able to get it done before winter?
Yes. It'll take them about a week to do.
Oh, they're ready to go.
We better start tomorrow.
Yes.
Any
Okay,
other
thank you.
questions?
He's waiting for the aye vote, and he's gonna push the button.
That's yeah, the text is already ready to go.
Thank
No
you,
other
Chief.
questions? Roll call, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item G, a resolution authorizing the IT department to purchase ARCGIS Enterprise Geospatial Platform from the Environmental Systems Research Institute. ESRI is in a not to exceed amount of $50,456 as outlined in the City of Waukegan Muni Code. Can I get a motion
I'll
on the
motion.
floor? Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by
Second.
Alderman Hayes. The engineering staff requests the purchase of this additional geographic information system, GIS mapping software, to coordinate and implement the city's water capital improvement plan as it relates to the water distribution system. Software also allows for adequate control, storage, and access to the city's utility main lines. Sole source purchases are a defined exemption from the formal bid pursuant to Section 2-458, subsection IL of the city's code. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item H, a resolution authorizing the proper city officials to approve a 60-month fiber optic service contract with Comcast Business Computer in a not-to-exceed amount of $760,000. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I'll motion.
Nobody wants to come?
No.
Rivera. Second.
I'll second.
Alderman Hayes. Okay. All right. Let me read this. IT staff recommends the renewal and purchase of Comcast Business.
Well, she
Can I
has to
read this
finish-
first?
She wants to finish reading.
The IT staff recommends the renewal and purchase of Comcast Business Enterprise Communications Service contract renewal for 60 months. The not-to-exceed amount estimate includes the estimated monthly fees and surcharges expected at 0.05% per month, and the monthly fee for the equipment and service of $12,573.52. The contract is for 60 months, including estimated fees and surcharges, is approximately $754,411.50. The purchase is defined exemption from the formal bidding pursuant to Section 2-458, subsection I, subsection 8 of the City Code Utilities. He may answer your question, but you can go ahead, Alderman Kirkwood.
I guess my question is exactly what are we getting for this amount? And I see that, there's a percentage increase.
Yes, sir. What we're getting is a continuation of our Comcast fiber optic contract that connects all of our municipal buildings together. that would be communications between Public Works, Fire Department, City Hall, Police Department, and Water Plant. We're extending it to the water plant for a solid, secure infrastructure connection. We're also getting the hardware, which is called firewalls, that are not easy to get these days, and they're managed services so that they'll help us manage that, which means that we have less IT staff engaged to do it. We'll still have IT staff, but the higher-end staff are being paid to Comcast to do it. We're also increasing the speed because we do what we call backup and recovery of information. As an example, if I'm going to have to restore something in the police department, well, that information is sitting in another building. It's called an off-site backup. This is what is the best policy for maintaining recovery of our systems. So within a period of time, I push that back and rebuild the system and put it back online. The current infrastructure, fiber optics, does not support that. Okay. So this is an increase in speed, remedies the problem for a 60-month contract, and the 0.5%, by the way, is an estimated extra fees that Comcast puts on everybody. It is not taxes, therefore we're not exempt. I put that in there just to make sure I was covered on the dollar value. Okay. Does that answer your question, Alderman?
Yes, but also, I guess my concern is that why do we go with 60 months and not something lower, so that if something is not working, we can make a change? This is a 5-year contract.
Yes,
Why don't we go 5-year instead of 3-year?
We want 5 years because Comcast is spending $230,000 plus to put the connection under the railroad tracks to the water plant. They won't do it for a 3-year contract. They'll only do it if we go for a 5-year contract. And that dollar value for going under the railroad tracks is common across the board no matter what vendor we go with. That dollar value. I don't care to pay it up front out of our coffers, and I don't care to have us be owners of a fiber optic network, because then that would mean we would have to supply the maintenance, repair, have people climb on poles, or pay them to fix fiber optics. It's not a really good choice, I don't believe, for the city. So a vendor is the right choice. This is a good option. Additionally, this is a GSA contract joint. They have a joint municipal, federal, and state contract we're going under, so it also applies to that as an exemption. So it is the best price.
Okay, and so throughout the building, all the buildings, there shouldn't be issues with connectivity and things of that nature?
The issue is connectivity, the speed of transmission or connectivity between the buildings, yes. As example, if I turn on the backup systems in the Public Works building, it takes over and I don't have any phone communications or other services available because it takes too much what we call bandwidth, speed. So this is the solution. In most municipalities and corporate environments, this is a solution, and I feel we're getting a very fair price for it.
Are there any other questions? Alderman Florian?
I don't know if any of us were up here when Comcast first came to town. Were they given some kind of like exclusive right to operate within the city when they first came in?
Alderman, I'm aware that they are a franchise. We do have a franchise agreement with them, as we do with AT&T and we do with ComEd and all of those. The lawyers are honestly a better person to talk to about how that works. And I wasn't here when we let this contract. We still have a year or so left on this contract right now. We have, and it's best for us to just simply go with renewing a contract with them. They're going to kill the rest of this contract and move forward with a 5-year contract. We have AT&T fiber as an example for our fire department fiber optic network, so we're not solely going with anybody's, yeah. So I don't have your answer, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
I have a quick question.
Alderman Hayes.
So just to be clear, what you said about there's 1 year left on the existing contract
Approximately, yes.
with Comcast, and then by entering into this 5-year deal, it's.
Goes away,
That goes away.
Yes, sir.
We're on the hook for 5 years from today, so to speak.
whenever I sign the contract,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
And this was budgeted?
Yes,
Okay.
The speed that you mentioned earlier, that's the network speed in between the buildings, so people being able to access our system and files and things of that nature? Is that what
yes, sir, that's the speed I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
When you run too many things, it's like trying to run 3 cars down a 2-lane highway. Somebody's going to get hurt, something's going to stop.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned firewalls, so it's providing, is it added protection or just the required, or is it enhanced protection from what we have now?
Yes.
To our system? Okay.
It is enhanced protection, and I mentioned the firewalls because the firewalls that we have in place are insufficient. So we'd have to, if we did this in another manner, we would have to purchase new equipment there and the maintenance contracts and the engineering to put that in place. They are providing that as part of this contract at no extra cost. So that's a good thing.
I would imagine our risk management, there's some requirement on the risk management level and from an insurance perspective to have those firewalls in place and
Yes, sir.
ensure that the city has that.
Cybersecurity rules, insurance, absolutely right. That
wanna
was
make
the
sure
initial
we're-
driving force here.
We're checking all of these boxes and people understand why we're spending $750,000. And then this is the same, these are the same firewalls that are protecting the water treatment facility and other critical services throughout the city?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Roll call, stay there.
Alderman Moiseo. Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item I, a resolution authorizing the proper city officials to extend purchasing authorization for computers, maintenance, and professional services from Cybernetics for a not-to-exceed amount of $370,000. Motion, can I get a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Alderman Hayes, second by Alderman Rivera.
Era.
Cybernetics is the manufacturer of their line of data storage and backup products. As such, Cybernetics is the sole provider of maintenance service due to the exclusive features offered with their equipment and proprietary technology. Cybernetics guarantees that this is no higher than the price offered to our most favored commercial and government customers for the same product in like quantities. Are there any questions? All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item J, resolution authorizing the proper city officials to approve the purchase by the city for additional equipment and services from Pentegra Systems LLC on an as-needed basis up to a total amount of $220,000 during the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Alderman Florian,
Yes, that's me.
second by Alderman Rivera. The IT department purchases commodities for multiple departments of the city. The authorization 7-18-2022, July 18th, 2022, needed to be increased due to an unexpected emergency repair to the city's camera system by Pentegra Systems LLC. As a result, an increase in the IT department's spending authorization was needed. Are there any questions to this motion? It went from 125 to 220. Is that what it did? Went from 125 to 220.
Yes, Alderman, there was we found additional materials cameras, et cetera, that needed to be repaired now. So this is the increase I have to come back to make an increase in cost or increase in request of authority to spend for.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Mozio,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Florian,
Aye.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
You said aye? Oh, I didn't say aye, did I? Aye. Okay, motion carried. Item K, a resolution authorizing the proper city officials to approve the land lease with Commonwealth Edison Company, ComEd. Can I get a motion on the floor?
I'll motion.
Nobody. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Hayes.
Sure. This upsets me as much as the ComEd contract. The
Yeah.
fact that, or,
Yeah.
excuse me, the Comcast
Yeah.
resolution.
Alderman Hayes,
I'd
I
say
agree
we-
with, I think with Comcast release, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
This is,
move it.
I was just.
I'm shocked.
Obviously driving there and I'm like, well, hell, we own the parkway across the street.
Yeah.
Right.
All
Okay,
right,
this,
they want to be good corporate
right.
partners and neighbors?
The city built a welcome to Waukegan sign on the area of land owned by ComEd, located near the southwest corner of Grand Avenue and Public Service Avenue in Waukegan, Illinois, and desires to preserve the sign. The city desired to enter into a land lease with ComEd in order for the city to maintain the sign and the lawn and shrubs surrounding it. So that is $525 per year.
Per year.
That we'll be paying for this to have the sign there.
Oh, I hope ComEd doesn't need any favors in the future. because
Long
they're-
memory.
They're not
In
going to
the
want to
near
come before
future.
city council, yeah.
We could vote it down, but then we got to pay her a bunch of money to go litigate it, and we're going to lose because it's a contract.
How,
Five
it,
and a
All
quarter.
that stuff, but I'm like
it's
you said,
been there for how many, it's been there forever.
I know.
Good evening.
20 years, it's been there since.
Yeah.
they
more
gotta
than
vote
that.
in favor, exactly. Because they're going to have a tough road.
Good evening, council members. Kelly Ganderski, Corporation Counsel. It's still there. What I didn't understand about this lease and really did not get a good answer to was how it's required to be backdated. So it goes back to 2020. I asked them to work with us on it. ComEd doesn't negotiate their leases. They made that pretty clear to me. I do think that if it's under an existing lease, which I haven't seen, we'll probably have to restore the area, but I think it's a small area. I think Engineer Alcacera knows the sign in the area. So probably just have to restore the landscape, but the sign could be moved if the council so chooses.
So it wouldn't be a problem to move it?
You just redid it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
I think the cost of removal, the cost associated with doing what it is we all want to do is
More than.
More
five.
than the
cost prohibitive, yeah,
525?
so.
How-
How long is the lease on this?
Yes.
So it goes from September of 2020 all the way to 27. So I don't know when, it must have expired in 2020 and they must be back behind on lease. I asked them to explain to me why this would start retroactively, and they said that's the way that they do these leases.
How come it didn't come to us in 2020
It's a good question. I don't know.
or ever?
It was there before 20 years, it's been there longer than that.
I don't remember it ever coming to the council.
Well,
Well, it's
I mean,
here.
what would it cost to remove it? What, do we have a sense of what that looks like?
Good question.
I think staff will have to answer that question. I don't know if they're prepared to answer that tonight. No?
move it across the street, I'm sure the park district would be more amenable.
Probably. I mean, if we're going to keep it there, we're going to keep it there. I get that there's costs.
I mean,
associated
the
with it.
contract now is for, to 2027?
Yeah, so we'd have to get out of the contract that we're now being forced to backdate.
Yeah, there's apparently an existing agreement that must have expired in 2020. So I think we're already probably on more of a month-to-month situation and I don't know that there's been any payment tendered.
So we're already 2 years in.
Okay.
I haven't seen one go through the bill run, and I look at it every
Yeah.
time.
The other thing, should the committee want to take more time, I could postpone the decision on this to the next.
Could we hold it over to the next Finance Committee meeting?
Sure, they can wait.
They've waited 2 years. What's one more month?
Is there a motion to hold this over?
I'll hold it over.
Motion by Alderman Moiseo,
Yeah, I'll table it to a date to be figured out. How about that?
2027?
Yeah, how about that? We'll table it to 2027.
Let
tabled
them tear it down if they want to tear it down.
tabled in committee. Okay.
You really work with it. My God.
I'll second it.
Second by Alderman Hayes. Alderman Hayes. To
2027? No.
Well-
A date to be determined. Can I do that?
to the next Finance
Can't table it
Committee.
till a date to be determined?
A date, you can't just say to be determined what is the date we're holding it to.
If,
Finance committee date?
I'm sorry, can I just say something? I mean, if we're looking at moving it, I can see why we're going to table it. But if we're just tabling it, just to table it, and then eventually we're going to approve it anyways,
She may be able to find more information out. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to find out what it would cost to move it and if we have to really adhere to this contract or this.
all right, sounds good.
Is the motion to hold to the next committee meeting date?
Yes.
Yes, hold it over to the
Thank you,
next
Tom.
Finance Committee. Is that enough time for you to get some information?
Alderman, I hope so. They haven't been extremely responsive, but I will do my best to get more
Oh,
information.
well, we got the holidays coming up. You want to take it to January?
I think that would be good.
Okay, let's hold it in committee till the Finance Committee in January.
2027.
The last council meeting in January 2023. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Or do we have to roll call vote that?
No, everyone's present.
All those in favor, okay. All right, item 3, reports and communications. Do we want Mr. Schultz to go over these? We do have a sheet that's handed
Yeah,
out
the
to all the
summary's
alders,
good.
the highlights.
Summary's good.
I like,
Okay. All right,
although I would like to talk about.
Motion to adjourn.
were you saying something else, Alderman Florian?
No, I'll wait till next time.
Okay. I'll take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by
I'll
to
second.
adjourn. Alderman Rivera, nobody wants to adjourn either, huh? Alderman Rivera to adjourn at 6:17 PM. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.